Peace and assalamu alaikum. It's Muntaha Ansari messing around with this camera. So I am back to show you one of the ways that I bake my chicken, how I prep it with the seasonings and such. And tonight I'm going to add veggies with it. So let me see if I can get this camera to lower enough. I don't know what I'm going to do about this. Let me see. It's very difficult to get it right because I don't know. I just don't have the right. Bear with me, y'all. I guess this is sufficient for now. Anyway, so it's not rocket science. So let me empty that water out. Let me wash my hands because I've been touching all over that phone. Okay, so I already washed the chicken. Sink and everything is good. So here is the chicken. I want to, you can actually go on ahead and put it in whatever baking thing you're going to use. If it's a baking pan or this cute little thing I have here or whatever. You can just put it in there and season each side of it if you want to, or you can put it in a bowl and have it, have the seasonings incorporated better on the chicken. So that's what I'm going to do. So I always have one clean hand, one dirty hand, okay? And I'll show you what I'm talking about in a second. Because I don't like touching on everything with salmonella on my hands, So let me see what I'm going to do. I always do garlic powder. So I have that. I'm gonna use this soul seasoning tonight. Use that too. I like to layer flavors, but not to make anything, make sure that they taste well together. So I'm going to use this soul seasoning. It has some cayenne in it, but it's not going to be a lot. Got the garlic powder, and I'm going to use some jalapeno, and it's mixed with garlic. This I get from Walmart. Let me show you though. I'm going to use this for the veggies probably later. McCormick's. Oh God, I love this seasoning. Love it. It's really good for people who are doing like the leaky gut diet. This is excellent because it doesn't have any cayenne or anything hot in it, so that's really good. And there's something else it doesn't have in it. When we were doing the leaky gut diet earlier in the year, I found it because I was really trying to stick to it, the diet plan as well as I could. So that was excellent. I also use this by that brand. And there's something else. Oh, the Himalayan sea salt. I use that. I'm not really a salt person, but I will use that. The pink salt is, and if you saw, is with black pepper and garlic. I usually use minced garlic, but I do when I'm seasoning my chicken. I do like to use the garlic powder, and in fact, I'll use some onion powder too. All right, let's get to it. So just pop all of these open. I wonder if I should, you know what? I may just go on ahead and use the thing I already have dirtied. That I already have the chicken in, and then I'll use that other one for my veggies because I'm just gonna lightly season the veggies with some of the Himalayan sea salt and some garlic. Some herb seasoning on it. So forgive me, like I said before, I'm a little bit of a germaphobe. I feel like I'm touching on stuff and I'm gonna touch the food. That's not cool. So just start putting all your stuff in there. Hold on, some of the water has gone to the bottom. Pour some of that water off from the chicken sitting there, you know. Okay, you cannot see, but it's here, and I'm just gonna start putting on seasoning, and a lot of seasoning, y'all. Don't be skimping on the seasoning. You gotta make it taste good. Now, ideally, you could do this earlier, maybe a couple of hours earlier, and you know, stir it all together and then pop it in the refrigerator to let some of that seasoning soak into the meat. But I didn't do that, and I normally don't do that, but I will tell you, my chicken is always banging. Yes, it is. I like cooking. I did not learn to cook until I was about 25, and that was because my mom passed away when I was a brand new teenager, and my mom used to really just do everything. We didn't have a whole bunch of chores and stuff like that. There were a bunch of, I was the oldest, and after me, there was my brother Sahib. He was 6 years younger, and then the next 5 children, they were like steps. And then my mom was really young. She was 34 when she passed away. So, you know, she was busy, and like a lot of us know, especially nowadays, I think nowadays it's far more common that children don't have a lot of chores. But, you know, I'm sure a lot of you can relate that sometimes it's just like, get out the way and let me do it. I'll do it right the first time. Children might be able to tidy up a little bit. I know I'm shaking a whole lot, but if you can tell, I'm really controlling how much is coming out. But, yeah, so I just didn't learn how to do a lot of things. And so, you know, then this is the jalapeno. So if you don't like a whole lot of hot stuff, then don't go buck wild with this. But so yeah, then I was vegan. Once I had my first son, I had him when I was 19. I became vegan about 21 or so. So I didn't have to learn how to cook a lot of stuff until I met my first husband, and he decided that he wanted to have a restaurant. And so I was like, cool, I'm with it, because, you know, I always just had an entrepreneurial type of vibe. I always wanted to have my own businesses and stuff like that. So I was like, fine. But what happened, I was supposed to be more of an assistant, I guess. Like, he was supposed to be the cook, and I would do a lot of the other stuff. But it was just a lot. And it was just a lot. And so I was really thrown into having to cook. And what I realized was that I could actually cook. Because, I don't know, I just know how to do it innately. It's just something that's in me. And in fact, I didn't used to tell him this, but the people used to call him like, sis, who cooking today? Like, you cooking? All right, this is what I want. But I wouldn't tell him that because I didn't want to hurt his feelings. But that was the real deal. And so I just loved cooking. So now, I used to cook all the time. But then when I relocated, it was just the children and me. I started going to nursing school and a bunch of stuff that I was into. So eventually, I started delegating more and more of that to the children, for the children to do. Okay. So, I'm just going to lay the chicken in here. I wish I could do better with this camera. Just lay the chicken in there on the flat side, okay? Bring it over here for a sec. Hopefully you all can see what I'm doing from there. I can't really tell since I'm recording it. Now, this is good for us because it's just my two daughters are home. My boys don't live at home anymore. So that'll be sufficient for us. Wash your hands off with good old hot water. I'll be back in a sec. That was really hot. Here I come, y'all. Gotta be thorough. Do not want to make anybody sick messing around. Now I know some people who are vegetarian or vegan, they're like, why would you eat something you gotta be worried about bacteria like that? Well, fact is, a lot of that cooks off. Well, all of it, I guess, cooks off. But also, we're human. It's natural for us to eat that. I know we don't like to, anyway, I'm not going to get into that whole vegetarian versus non-vegetarian thing. So, I already had some potatoes, red potatoes that I cut up into eighths. So I cut them in half. And then each half I cut into quarters, into fours, okay? And I also already poured a teensy bit of cooking oil on here because I had a jar, like a bottle, a glass bottle from the Dollar Tree that I keep my oils in so I can just pour them at the, when I need them. But somebody done got rid of it. Something happened. I think somebody broke it and didn't tell me anything. So I didn't want to be tacky, taking the big old bottle that I have and pouring it. But let me show you. This is what I use. Sunflower. I used to use canola like a lot of people do until I got hip. Somebody told me that that's not good. Canola is not good. I forget why. I think it's, like most things due to the processing. But you can look it up. So now I just have a bunch of mushrooms. I'm just gonna chop roughly, y'all. Nothing major. Now the truth is that the potatoes need to cook longer in the oven because they're potatoes. They're pretty tough. It takes longer for them to cook. But the mushrooms and the onions, I'm also going to do some onions. They really don't need to cook that long. But since I'm not going to remember to come back to the oven before the chicken finishes to put these in, I'm just going to let them stay in there and they'll just be softer. They're still good. So I just don't normally like to cook my veggies and things too long because you don't want to cook out all the nutrients. You know how growing up our parents and grandparents used to cook like collard greens, let's say, for all those thousands of hours. That's not good because you're cooking all the nutrients out. And if you still do that, you should probably stop. Actually, I'm not going to use all of those mushrooms because I'm going to also make a soup tonight, a dumpling soup, vegetable bean. So I'm going to use we'll save some of those for that. Okay, so I got that in there. Let me come over here and grab this onion out the freezer. I just kept it in there for a little while because the way you cut out all that crying that you do when you cutting on the onion, have cold. But I keep my onions on the counter, so I just popped it in the freezer for a few. Actually, I probably kept it in there for longer than I needed to, but it's not frozen or anything. But so I probably left it in there for about 20 minutes, perhaps longer. You don't have to do that though. All right, come on, baby, get on off of there. Just try not to take that whole layer off. Whatever. I don't really like wasting. Too tough. And when you're cutting your veggies and things that you're gonna have some waste for, if you don't have a composter, you might want to keep like a bag or a bowl or something nearby, just to help with cleanliness. So I'm just gonna slice these not too thin because I know that I'm gonna put them in the oven now with the chicken. Okay. So, and I'm not sweating them being all uniform. This is not for a catering gig. It's just for home. But this is, oops, this is about the width that I'm cutting them, okay? And you can layer them on top of your chicken if you want to. I ain't got time for that. So I'm just doing it like this. Just trying to get this in the oven because it's actually got kind of getting late. And by the way, I already preheated my oven to 375. I always cook my chicken on 375. I know a lot of people do it on 400, but I think that's just too high. You don't want the inside of your food to cook too quickly, you know? And then it'll be not totally, you know, the outside will look done. It may even look crisp, but the inside won't be. So that's not cool. So I just mixed all those up. I forgot I wanted to season it a little bit. Now I'm not really gonna put a lot of seasoning because the juices from the chicken are going to you know, infuse the veggies, so it'll be okay. And don't be going on using a bunch of utensils and junk to stir whatever. Use your hands. Just make sure your hands are nice and clean because you don't want to get your family sick, you know. One of the things that I remember about my my great-grandmother, who she, you know, helped raise me, because back then we all used to live together, you know, families in general. The grandmama used to live there, or the grandfather, or whatever. And one of the great memories I have about my great-grandmother is watching her, I'm getting a little emotional, is watching her cook, like just watching her hands. That song that, oh gosh, I can't think of his name right now for some reason. He sings Lovely Day. He also has a song called Grandma's Hands. That song means so much to me. Like, I know it does a lot of people. Because I used to watch my great-grandma's hands, how she would, you know, when she would make burgers, let's say, from scratch, and watch how she would mix it up, and she would pat it with her, you know, chubby, wrinkly hands. When I was born, she was already 72. So we're talking, she was like 80, 82 years old from, you know, when I'm thinking about It's just something about that for me. And, you know. Now, one of the things to remember about when you're cooking, you want to make sure you have colors going on in your food. That way you know that you got some healthy stuff in there. So I have the red potatoes, I have the purple onions, I have the mushrooms in there, which is sort of like a beige color, right? Of course, I have all the colors of the different seasonings. Then I have these frozen potatoes, sweet potatoes, and I really don't need the sweet potatoes since I already put potatoes in there, but I like the color, the orange, and I just love sweet potatoes. And then I have these peppers and onions, bell peppers and onions. So the reason I buy frozen veggies sometimes is because, child, I'll forget they're in my refrigerator, and they will certainly go bad. But these are diced small too. Normally when I buy the frozen sweet potatoes, they are not that small. They don't dice them so small. I'll use the rest of those to go with the soup. And also, so not only will they go bad waiting for me to get to them in my refrigerator sometimes, because I just forget. Once they go on that little crispy, child, out of sight, out of mind. And then bell peppers are so expensive. They're so expensive. So, to me, it's better to just go on and buy them frozen. So I just want to make sure these get spread a little bit. I put more on you than I wanted to, but it's okay. So there we go. So I'm just gonna cover this with some aluminum foil. Because you can cook in this, but it's more so for serving. But I didn't want to use my old beat up baking pan that I have for the world to see. And there you go. Now, if you're not using something that is deep, actually I might just do that anyway, just in case. Let me get something. So if you don't have something that's deep, just be mindful that those chicken juices, they will start to overflow. So depending on how deep your thing is, like how this, I've done a whole lot of cooking, catering, everything. So something like this, more than likely the juices will overflow. So if you have anything like that, you want to make sure you just have something to catch it so it won't fall down in the oven. So I got that on that bottom shelf, and I'm going to put this on the top shelf. And there you go. That's it. So I'm gonna let that cook for about an hour, 15 minutes. It depends. And especially it depends when you have, like I did, I layered the veggies on top of the chicken. So you definitely want to make sure that it cooks well. Get down there to the bottom, like move some of the veggies out the way and check the chicken before you take it out. If you have a I keep forgetting, I need to buy a thermometer. If you have a thermometer, it'd be better. I forget how many degrees though it should be to the center, but you can easily look that up. Just Google that. That's that. I'll let you know how it looks and how it tastes. Okay, bye, have a good night.